Okay, I'd like to call a meeting to order of the Scituate Council on Aging Board of Directors at 5:36. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We've got a few people that sort of called out with either sickness or other issues, so I think this is the extent of our gathering tonight.
You have a quorum, is that a quorum?
Yeah. So as always, we'll walk real quick and do some introductions. I'm J.D. Miller, Chairman of the Board. Why don't I go to
Jack
my right?
Dalton, board. Steve Dwyer, board member.
Marie Fricker, board member.
Leslie James, board member.
Erica Soares, Manager of Social Services for the Town of Scituate.
Susan Dravich Kelly, Vice Chair.
Welcome all. Erica, thanks for being with us tonight. What we've got, I wasn't here last month either, so why don't we want to take a quick look at our minutes. Susan was already maybe making some edits, but let's take a look at our minutes and approve those first from November 10th.
Well, I would say, Dee, you did a great job.
I also would say that.
Yeah, this is
Does anybody have
outstanding.
any comments or edits or
No, I think
omissions
we-
or changes to our minutes?
Just the
Not having
only,
been here, I thought they were,
no, they
very
were
comprehensive.
unbelievable, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. So, it's just JD and Linda who were missing, right?
Last-
Well,
last one?
Pat, I mean,
Oh,
Pat
that's right, you were
isn't,
sick. You were
yeah,
sick.
so Pat was, not Pat,
JT, Leslie, and Linda.
yes.
Right.
missing last one.
Right.
Yeah, so that's just, I mean, it was your first time, but that's, yeah, that's the only other little piece that you do is you put down who's missing. And then the only other thing is to give yourself credit somewhere.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. I
Yeah.
did them right away, because
I
there
know,
was no backup with the,
I know, and you did a fabulous,
what you call it,
yeah, just so we
TV
can
to go
also,
look at, so.
yeah. So just, either at the beginning or at the end, just to,
Yeah. Submitted by.
yeah. And that way it also helps us keep track of who's next to me. Leslie, are you gonna be doing minutes?
Minutes?
Yeah.
No,
Pat's doing it.
No, I know she is, but I mean, just as
I'm
you.
not in the rotation.
Oh,
You want to be?
No. No, I did my time before you guys got here.
Does anyone have any changes or edits to the minutes?
I move that we approve the
I
minutes.
would like to make that motion. We have a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have,
Second motion?
very good, thank you. Well, Linda is not here, as you all know, and Erica wants to maybe get out to another meeting tonight. She's got to get here, so I'm gonna start over with Erica. Thank you again for being here. Tell us what's going on.
Where do I start?
We haven't seen you for a long
I
time.
know, it's since I first started, I haven't
Yeah.
been here.
Yeah, and
I will say that it's taken me quite some time, to really figure out what my role is and how I want to, proceed moving forward in my role. And I'm excited, because come 2023, we have a lot of, programming and, groups and things that we're going to be starting. One being, in the beginning of the year, we're going to do a suicide awareness training for the town, but specifically at the senior center geared towards seniors. So I'm excited for that. We don't have a concrete date. We're in the planning phase of that. So another thing is really reaching out to all, yep.
So, I mean, that's geared towards seniors or geared towards the whole community?
It is geared towards the whole community,
Okay.
however, there are two trainings that we're looking into, and one specifically is, more geared towards, the population at the senior center.
Okay.
But again, that's all, we're in the planning phase of that, so.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you're probably seeing more of a younger crowd with this issue than an older crowd, or no? Or is it met, is it?
I'd be very transparent, I don't wanna say like a specific population, just because I don't feel comfortable with that. I do know that, you know, suicide in general has increased
Yeah.
drastically. So and it's really sad, very, very sad, cause it is happening within the communities.
So are you bringing in like a special,
Correct.
a speaker?
Mm-hmm,
Who's
Yes.
gonna do this? Okay,
Mhm.
somebody that's trained and,
yeah.
So it'll be a presentation, not an ongoing.
It will be a presentation, a little bit of like education on, you know, suicide, as well as like a few, coping skills, I guess, or, you know, ways to identify, you know, if someone is having difficulties and, you know, not taking that responsibility, but really just, knowing, you know, the steps that you can take.
Yeah, let's raise awareness.
Yes, exactly.
And how long have you been in the position?
Sure, so I started in, 2020.
during COVID,
Yeah.
because I remember we met you on Zoom.
Yes,
Right.
yep. So that, you know, it took a little bit of time to kind of, you know, get into the community because of COVID. A lot of people didn't know where I was, or that, you know, that they didn't feel comfortable sitting in person and talking, so that whole piece kind of was missing in terms of me, like, reaching out and getting out into the community. So I feel as though this year really was, you know, people knew I was here and I was extremely busy. So it's kind of been tough in terms of like my role as a clinical, you know, person in the community, as well as case management. So that's taking up quite some time, as well as I would, you know, I want to focus 2023 on programs and offering it to the community, so.
Plus, have you found it to be helpful to be here physically rather than, weren't you in the
Yeah,
harbor
I definitely felt isolated in terms
at the
of,
community
Yeah.
building?
but it was good too,
Privacy.
because it was private, right? So,
Yeah.
luckily there are other places in Scituate that we can meet and, you know, that we, you know, residents feel comfortable. But most don't, you know, don't have a problem coming in, and specifically for the population, you know, the elderly population, when they might come in to see me, and then they see this building, and they're like, whoa, why am I not utilizing this? So it is good that I'm here, because some of the seniors that are, you know, reaching out because they're having a hard time, then come in, and this building and what's happening inside it is amazing, and it's so good to see. It really is, just all the activities and classes that they're offering. I get happiness, you know, when I see it. I can't imagine what it feels like to be involved in, you know, dancing and doing line dancing and
Right,
art
sure.
classes and, you know, Spanish courses and history, and there's just so much. So, I will say that, you know, I've been introduced to residents, as well as I've introduced residents to, the program.
How much of your time are you spending here versus out?
Um,
I mean, I think you're out there.
I am in and out,
Yeah.
I will say. So that's really what I need to work on, I will say, is like another goal of mine is to really figure out, like, you know, how it if it will work, if I have, you know, office hours here or not. Like my week might be open on Monday, and then by Monday afternoon, like, it's completely booked. So, and it just depends, like, if a client doesn't feel comfortable coming here, then my role is to go out into the community.
Do you have office hours?
I don't, not right now,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, because I was gonna ask, how, are people spontaneously sort of walking in unannounced, or do they call you and say, can I talk to you next Wednesday?
I will say both. However, Erin is here, so when somebody does walk in, she will be introduced to the resident, and then depending on whether it's just like, you know, case management, which is like applications and, you know,
Right.
connecting to resources, or is it more mental health related? So, you know, of course, if I'm not here,
She can help a little.
exactly, yeah,
Even if they're not
Sort of
seniors.
interrupted.
correct.
Let me
Yes.
tell us
Yep.
what she's doing.
Mhm.
What's that?
No, I was gonna say, we started
Oh,
bombarding you
keep
with
asking.
questions rather than letting you
Honestly,
finish.
I do well
talk.
answering questions as opposed to, I'm not a public speaker, I will say. I should probably practice those skills, but. Let's see, so another thing that we're doing is in housing, again, this is 2023, is, we're going to put resource folders together for, you know, all, different resources that are really like important, and that people, you know, are reaching out for consistently. So we're going to have those available to like Community Christmas and the food pantry, library, where, you know, people can be handed a folder with resources when they're accessing resources in the community, so
Yep.
that we're all working together. And that they already, one specifically is in the housing, authority. You know, every new resident that moves in there, will get like a folder.
Nice.
So that's something that, we're rolling out too, which is exciting, cause again, like catching, things before they become like a real issue for the resident, so whether
How
it
is
be.
that different than what, Erin would be doing?
So Erin and I are
Or is
working,
the housing authority, is it all elderly in the housing authority?
disability and, seniors. So Erin and I work closely together, with the senior population, so she does more like clinical, I take a step back, she does more case management, resource connection, referrals, whereas I do clinical work, which is, the mental health piece of it. Specifically for this population, 18 and, you know, is it 60 here?
Well, I think it's supposed to be 55,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
They're opening it up to a broader community,
which is amazing.
which is good, because a
Yeah.
lot of the other senior centers in the state have already done that.
If I knew, so that, I apologize, I did not know, I thought it was like 60, so,
And some people think it's 65 too.
Yeah. so maybe
Well,
that,
it's 55, so,
well, I
that
have
might
a whole
broaden-
bunch of people to send to you then.
okay, send them our way.
So like up to 55, my role, you know, is to do case management and mental health. Whereas for the elder population, I guess, you know, 55 and above, Erin will help with the case management piece. So we also, are a part of a grant now. It's called Public Health Excellent Grant, and it's a shared service grant, between Scituate, Cohasset, and Hingham. Very, very excited for that, so, we're still in the planning phase of that, but really it's more so like the three communities are, sharing resources and,
Scituate, Cohasset, Hingham,
mhm,
okay.
yeah.
It's called the,
Public Health Excellence Grant. So some things we're looking at is, well, they hired a regional, social worker. So, when I'm out of town on vacation or something like that, that person will be able to cover for me.
Okay,
We just,
but the three towns have had the ability to hire someone? Is that what you're saying?
It's a grant.
It's the
Okay.
grants.
Yes,
the grants.
it's a funded grant. So there are many different towns that are grouped together that are part of this grant. And ours just happens to be Cohasset, Hingham and Scituate. So they're looking into a whole bunch of things. I'm not gonna say too much because I don't wanna say too much, because we're still in the planning phase, but a lot of great things, and one specifically that I'm passionate about is hoarding. So, you know, having, yeah, I'm excited for that. So just, you know, that grant will help fund things, initiatives and potential, you know, clean outs and things like that. Yeah, I mean,
Good.
that's,
That's
It's a
great.
major issue in
Yeah.
the senior.
Yeah,
it
that's
is,
great.
so I'm excited, because it will be able to cover, numerous different, positions that will help Scituate, so.
So the,
Yeah.
the social worker that, you kind of like a hospital having a floating nurse that covers.
Kind of, yeah, she is a, Cohasset social worker.
Oh,
So Hingham does not have one currently, but they are looking for a social worker in Hingham. And then, of course, there's me and Stephanie Saunders, who is the social worker for Cohasset. But she's taking on that role as well as, you know, being the regional person, regional for those 3 towns, so.
Great. That's great.
I'm
that's great.
excited. We're getting electronic health records through the grant, so that will help, you know, facilitate good communication, and just, it's just good practice, so I'm excited for that piece. I'm trying to think of what else we
And
talked
you
about.
don't have that already.
Right.
Okay, that's
Electronic.
good.
Health records.
We do have a way of documentation, but this program is like, you know, up to date and, you know, very,
Like a really robust,
Ex-
where it can
exactly.
capture a lot of data and then you all can share it.
exactly,
Right.
yes. Whereas now it's, like basic.
Mhm.
We are documenting, but it's not at this level, if that makes sense.
That's great.
I'm trying to think if, let me see anything. Storm prep, especially, you know, for this population, so, I know they just had, an event here. And it was unfortunately a small turnout, so my hope is to have another one where, you know, fire came in and, you know, really talked about storm prep and what the town has to, you know, support residents during, you know, storms and things like that, so,
Why do you think that it wasn't well attended?
in my opinion, which I'm actually reached out to the town administrator's office today, I think we could be doing a better job at like promoting,
Like a lot of people just didn't know about it.
I think so, but I don't know that for sure, but,
Well, it was only in the senior center newsletter, right? It was a small little posting.
I thought it was a project.
I don't know the answer to that,
Like a robocall, you mean?
Yeah,
I
no.
didn't get one.
It comes
On the
through
constant
by-
contact.
I don't know whether it comes through on my email or my phone.
Oh, you mean through the town of Scituate
Yeah,
blast?
the blast.
Well, the problem with that is, and having run the 50-plus job seekers, which is even younger
Mhm.
holders,
yes,
the whole issue of technical competency or
Mhm.
being tech savvy
Mhm.
or being technophobic was a huge issue that we had when we had to convert over to Zoom. And people had to use their computers, or even just getting to, I mean, like even running my grief support group, I mean, there are some people that just don't do email,
exactly.
so they have to be called.
As
And-
well as social media, because I think that the senior center uses Facebook to promote some stuff. But you're absolutely right, with this population, how many people have Facebook? I don't know the answer to
Or
that,
even
because I
check
don't
their
have
email.
social media, but like email and,
Because I don't check every single email that comes in from the town of Scituate. I mean, there's a ton of them that come in, which I'm not complaining. I think it's great the town communicates, but I agree with you. I mean, if they had been like flyers put up like at the village market or, you know, wherever else Marie scatters her papers,
Where
just
do you-
follow Marie around.
No, but I think that is an idea that I've thought about, but I honestly just don't have time to do that, but I
Or
would
even
love
in
to
the
pick your
church
brain.
bulletin or
Yeah.
things like that. I mean, to reach more people that,
Mhm.
you know, a lot of people that are in that demographic
Mhm.
tend to be more visual, you know. So if you hand them something,
No, yeah, that's not rated.
Yeah,
See it.
and I can talk to Linda, you know,
Was it on the bulletin board, was it,
I don't know
at
the
the
answer
front
to
desk?
that.
I don't think so.
because that's a pretty effective way of
Mhm.
communicating.
Yeah, it is, that's true. The most effective way is to get Marie to write an article.
No, I will, if you want me to.
Well, I would love to pick anyone's brains because there are amazing things happening and I just don't know if everyone knows about it and what's the best way to do
Yeah.
that.
Or even if,
Information out.
if people know about you, I mean, maybe this could be,
Mm-hmm.
you know, news around town or something and introducing the senior population to, although I know it's not just for Scituate,
No, yeah.
but, you know, it sounds like even with this grant, yeah, you know, it's involved.
Well, in this paper, we're going to beginning, in 2023, we're gonna start doing an events calendar. And
Nice.
that would be a good, the senior centers.
Sure.
Only the senior centers.
Yep.
So that would be a good place to put it.
Yeah.
Perfect,
Yeah.
yeah. I also am going to be putting some resources in at the town hall. So, you know, my hope is that I can put some of the initiatives that are happening here there. And Michelle is going to be helping me brainstorm ideas on, you know, reaching out to the community.
Now, you're talking about the housing, had you thought of like, with like newcomers, like families that move new to town may not know what's available?
Yeah,
there?
right.
Yeah, so we're going to be, you know, creating folders and resources for residents. Do you mean specifically when they move into the housing authorities or?
I'm thinking,
In
not,
general.
Just general
but
health.
you serve the whole town, so not just the seniors, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
like the newcomers club, or whoever,
You mean the welcome
Yeah.
wagon?
Lisa back
Is that
at
a thing?
below Scituate used to do that. I'm not sure if she still is, but she used to do
I
that.
got a visit when I moved in.
Yeah.
Did you?
Did you really? And
I
that's
did.
great.
But that was that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, I
Just
mean,
6 years ago,
who
but I
has-
did.
Lisa back from Hello Scituate.
do they still have one, newcomers club?
I don't know, but she
She
knocked
was
on
the-
my
she
door
was-
and gave
she
me all
was-
sorts of coupons.
But these, you know,
I tried
Yeah.
to
back in
reach
the
out
last
to her,
century, they had.
Yeah,
because I moved
Yeah,
5 years
she was-
ago into a new house, and she came all excited to give me this brochure. I'm like, I just moved down the street, I've been here 30 years. She goes, you got one anyway.
Yeah. I didn't know that, you
Yeah,
know.
maybe just Google it, I don't know, I
Okay.
mean, if you, could, you know, that would be great to
I mean,
include in that.
it makes sense, yeah, for sure.
The newcomers, I mean, I don't know if that's an idea whose time has come and gone, but, you know, it was a way to meet, you know, they had play groups, got to meet other
Mm-hmm.
new parents, you got to find out what's going on in different towns, you got speakers coming in, telling what's going on in the town.
Right. And that, to be honest, those are things that I wanna do and that I'm passionate about, but because I'm only one person,
Time.
I literally, it's been a little crazy and hectic, but that's why I'm so excited for this grant because, we also are getting an intern that, Stephanie in Cohasset she'll be directly under her, but I'll be able to utilize her, so I'm
Great.
excited for that, yeah. Cause then that will give me time to kind of focus on these other things.
I mean, is there any area that you could see that a volunteer could help you? You know, once a week for 4 hours? We gotta talk to Jess or anybody else about that too.
We have talked about that, and I don't know, you mean a volunteer specifically from the senior center?
Yeah.
I
Or
think
maybe
that
it could
maybe
be
you
your
can,
tax credit.
Yeah.
volunteer.
Right.
But the nature of Erica's
Business,
work
right.
is
Right.
such that,
Like HIPAA almost.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's.
Yeah, it would have to be something
It would have to be more
Yeah.
purely administrative, like
Yeah, and I think
making
that's,
copies, putting together your
Yeah.
resource
Yeah.
books, distributing them,
No,
that kind of stuff that you really
Go
don't
with
have time for, or, figuring out
Yeah,
where
that
to
makes
put the
sense, too.
information.
yeah. I mean, I've thought about volunteers, but it's like,
But if, and you would
It's
split it
difficult.
between you and Aaron, so that,
that would be like a conversation, with Linda, cause I don't ever wanna overstep boundaries or anything like that, but I think it's a great idea, but.
Because I know she is, there were people applying for the senior tax work-off program and they need, places to be assigned to. But it would have to be, like, you'd have to define it as
Administrative
like
type of thing.
purely
Yes.
administrative,
Mhm.
marketing,
I think that's amazing,
all of
thank you
that.
for, suggesting that, because, you're right, that's a great opportunity to volunteer, and it's beyond helpful for me,
Yeah,
cause that's, busy, not saying it's busy work,
Yeah.
but
No,
it's
but
not
it-
important.
yeah,
if
but
there was,
it's,
if there was task-oriented work that you could split between you and Aaron, for example, and even knowing that one person's gonna come in for 4 hours once a week to do that,
Yeah,
now you've got some of those tasks taken care of.
They can go to the bulletin boards for you.
yeah.
all stuff like that, I mean, I think putting the
Putting the
folders together.
folders
Right.
together.
The
and-
reason it hasn't been, rolled out yet is because, I need that help, so,
Time intensive.
yeah, I thank you for sharing that. That's why we need conversations.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why we started doing this, because it really is, it's helpful for us,
mhm.
because then when we hear about what you're doing and what your challenges are, then we can brainstorm and maybe figure out ways to help you.
Perfect, thank you, I appreciate it. Trying to think of, that's,
Do you work closely with Eileen Scotty?
currently I do not, her hours are limited.
Very good.
I believe, yeah, so through this, again, this is a potential thing that might roll out. They're looking into hiring, a nurse through the grant to
Mhm.
work alongside me, and especially with the Horton cases to go into
Oh,
the
that'd be great.
yeah. So that will be separate, that's under the grant, that's not, under the town.
Nice.
I think,
Sounds like you're doing a lot of things, you have a lot of ideas on the plate for 2023.
I do, and my hope is that I can get to all of them.
Well, it hasn't started yet, so.
I know, it's
So
busy.
get going.
There are,
You got a month in advance before you hit
the amount of people that have contacted me this year, as opposed to like last year, it's completely different. Yeah, it's skyrocketed, yep.
I mean, can you quantify those numbers and say, I've been contacted by,
Yes, but because of the documentation and how it is now and how we're gonna roll it out, it's gonna be it might be time
Right.
consuming.
yeah?
Whereas when we get this, it'll be
Yeah,
a
it'll be
click of a button.
automatic.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now, like off the top of my head, financial means is like, the need is tremendous right now. The amount of people, especially single, parents, it's everyone right now that is in
I just got
need.
my National Grid electric bill, I
Did you?
just passed out,
Really? I haven't gotten mine.
double.
No.
Yeah, it went from, I call it
It's-
11
it's
kilowatt to
the,
33.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't actually look at the bill, I just looked at the
Number.
amount that I
Yeah.
owe, and it's huge.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I
It's
was
like
hearing that.
2 times the amount, and, I live alone,
Groceries,
and
like,
I work by
Gas.
candlelight.
those people that barely make enough money, they're paycheck to paycheck.
I know, they
Now,
can't do it.
now it's, an issue
Yep.
because of,
Paychecks aren't keeping us.
exactly, yeah,
Is it a lot worse this year than last year?
yes, yep. And again, is it because people know I'm here, or is the need
Greater.
It's
greater?
probably a combination.
I
of
agree,
both.
yeah. Yeah.
Cause you came in the middle of COVID, so
Mhm.
that was sort of like,
Quiet.
a blackout year, so to
Yeah.
speak, which in a way was good, but, you know, I mean, everybody was remote and, you know, in their homes and everything else. So really, this past year, in essence, was your first year
Yeah.
to sort of put your flag in the ground and
Yeah.
let people know that you exist.
Yeah.
Didn't take too long for them to find you.
They didn't, but honestly, I will, say that, you know, there are great changes that are happening with families and residents, so, you know, although I'm busy, it's, you know, people are seeking help and they're receiving it, and there are really good, great
Positive
things that are
outcomes.
happening, yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Super.
In terms of macro issues besides finance, is there anything else? I mean,
Housing is,
Housing.
it's
that makes sense too.
And it's very defeating, I will say, because, you know, people will come to me asking for resources and I don't have them to provide. Do you know what I mean? So like, I, have, like, apartments, right? So we have RAFT program, which is, you know, financial assistance through the state. However, residents need to have an apartment prior to utilizing that service if they're not already somewhere. So if they don't have an address, or if they're moving to another address, they need to have all that documentation and approval, you know, from a landlord in order to receive.
Otherwise, they fall through the cracks.
Yeah. So, there are a lot of things that, with the housing, it's just really difficult, cause it's, you know, like, yes, you can go to a shelter, that, you know, I have that to offer, but then, you know, what are they seeing? That's a short term,
Very short term.
right, and it feels terrible. But to send somebody to a shelter, it does not feel good, and, you know, I get, that is difficult for me, I would say, yeah, but I mean, I'm sure every social worker, caseworker
Feels the same way.
feels the same way, right?
Yeah. And then there's only so many shelters.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I used to work in the shelters for the domestic violence victims, and it's incredibly limited, and they can't stay.
they can't, so they have to
They
bring their
have-
stuff out, and then they come
have,
back.
yeah, they have to find a way to work their way out of there, like theoretically after 4 months, and
Yep.
that's like a really short period of time.
Mhm.
It's hard, really, really hard. But you do great work.
Thanks. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys, and, again, the senior center, you know, it's fascinating, and I'm excited, you know, to be here, really, like, it makes me happy to be here, so.
Are there any
thankful.
days that are the same?
Really?
Not at all, right?
No, not even, when I say I'll come in Monday and my
Calendar.
calendar is open
You
by
have
the end
you
of
have a plan, and when you walk in the door, by 5 minutes later, it's gone.
I say to people, I say to people like this week, if you don't book with me today, like I can't guarantee that I'll have space for you. However, I will make sure that they're connected, I'll refer them, you know, where they need to be, but,
How many hours are you?
full-time, 40, yep. But
Yeah, I'm sure you work more than 40 hours. You didn't even have to finish that
I
sentence.
did it, yeah, yeah,
Well, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
We appreciate
So I
your work.
will make sure, maybe in the beginning of the year, I can come and share,
Yeah,
you
come
know,
back and share.
when
it.
things are
Yeah.
rolling out.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
You realize it's 3 weeks
Today?
away.
Yeah. I know. I'll get there though.
All right.
I
well,
still have a couple weeks left, but
yeah.
my hope is like February to start, you know, getting some things.
Yeah, let us know if we can help, where we can help.
And I might reach out to some of you now that I have some ideas.
Yeah.
But if you guys come up with anything or think of anything after, please, you know, reach out, because I am open to ideas. I wanna, you know, work smarter, not harder. I wanna, you know, like I want to, just, you know, work as a community. And I think we could be doing a better job at that, so, you know, that's definitely gonna be a focus.
Well, also, the group between Cohasset and Hingham, you might be able to pull some ideas that we're not using that we could use.
Exactly, yep.
That's a good
And
collaboration.
I think that that's the purpose of it too,
Yeah, it's a good
really.
collaboration.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you, and
Thanks
I'll
for
see you
coming.
guys. Thank you.
I'm Karen, and I'm so sorry we haven't met in person
Oh,
before.
that's
It's
okay.
very cute over the slide.
Oh, how are
It's
you?
like we see your name on everything.
I
You're
know, it's hard.
Such an asset to this town.
Oh, thank you so much, I
Sorry.
appreciate that.
Let's
Let's get
Get
offline
together.
sometime.
Yes,
Because
perfect.
you have all that free time in your schedule?
Yes.
Yeah, block me in.
I will though, that's important. All right, thank you guys.
Thanks,
for coming.
Erica.
Happy Merry Christmas.
Thank you too.
Well, glad we got her. Glad we got on her schedule.
Yeah, no, that was great.
So Linda is not here because she's out of town, and, but I have a director's report that I will review. And everyone, I think, has got a packet of some of that information, so, there's an attachment here, but we're spec'ing for the new social day program to start in January. I believe January 9th is the date, and
Right.
that you probably got some detail on one of your other handouts,
It's
right?
there,
Yeah, on the report, but
Yeah.
on the handout, you've got additional, more detail, so. 8 participants, $40 a day, we're gonna do 1 day a week. We're gonna try and see how it goes, and with the objective possibly of adding a second day.
This is Jen Adams from Scituate.
Yep.
She's amazing.
yeah. That's what Linda, yeah,
Ah.
Linda had her eyes on her for a long
Yeah.
time.
She's amazing. Jen Adams is gonna
Who's
coordinate
gonna be
this.
the coordinator of the program, so. So you'll start to see some information, again, you've got more detail here on your attachments, but, applicants will start, are being processed or start to come in at this point, I think, and, you know, we've gotta do some intake to sort of vet some people to make sure they fit, but, and again, we can only handle 8, or we're only gonna expect to handle 8, but that we're looking forward to getting that started, and that'll be in this room, starting on January 9th, so. It'll include lunch, and maybe some other, you know, being able to grab a van and go someplace if we get to that point, but, and we're gonna try to have a 4-to-1 ratio, so if we have 8 people, we're probably gonna have 2 people, Jen and another volunteer to handle the 8 people. In terms of building use, Linda's just, I know there was a Sister City Committee meeting, there's been some evening meetings a couple nights ago, although I don't know, have any feedback from that committee meeting, but the Waterways Commission is using the building. Etrusco has got a Christmas luncheon scheduled for this Friday, tomorrow, so that'll be here. And the Scituate Police Department will do their annual Christmas lunch for seniors on Saturday, December 17th, which is great, always well received. Entertainment series in memory of Jim Young, we've got some things, Linda's got some things going on with, or had with Matt York back on November 29th, and had 65 people here. And end of this month, the WSU, which for anybody who doesn't know what WSU is, it's whoever shows up. That's the name of the band, WSU. Whoever shows up, bluegrass band, will do a pre-New Year's Eve party. Nothing yet scheduled for January, and looks like there's something already scheduled for February with Steve Lanzalotta, and on February 13th. We are short a little bit on some other reports this month, or tonight, simply because Lillian from Transportation has been out sick for the last couple of days, so she hasn't been able to even be in the office for a couple of days now. Erin is out today, so Erin wasn't able to pull her report together. So We don't have a transportation, we don't have an outreach. We do have an activities report that's also in your packet from Jess. I really haven't taken a look at this, but the numbers are still pretty strong. If I do a quick look, you know, we're averaging 700 people a month coming in, or just slightly under, which is a pretty good traffic flow. We're usually between 700 and 800, or 650 and 750 or 800, and so there's a lot of people coming into this building.
She has a bunch of interesting points on the back side,
okay.
which she's looking forward to.
Yeah, again, I'll just read this to publicize it here. The overall activity numbers are dipping a little bit, even though I just mentioned they're pretty strong. It's winter. There's been some people who've been out sick, and some things have been canceled. The luncheon program is still extremely strong, and there's been some special holiday meals that have probably added to those numbers. But the men's breakfast remains popular, and the numbers are increasing to pretty close to capacity there. There was a discussion and a request for some women's monthly activities, so I think that's still sort of in the planning stages. Interestingly, the cardio machines are increase in usage is way up, which is good to see, because that means people are coming in to utilize them.
I thought you were going to fight the other morning.
Really?
Yeah,
What?
Because they didn't reserve, right?
because they didn't reserve,
Yeah.
you know, you can only have 2 people in the room at once, and so we had to kind of,
Separate.
So it's first come, first served.
yeah. And you can't sign up ahead of time. It's live, so
It's a good problem.
it's just funny, yeah.
Is there any cost to that?
No?
So I don't understand if you can't reserve it, or they didn't reserve it, but you're saying that they can.
They can come in the morning and sign up
And
for a
sign up.
time slot during the day.
Oh.
So the first guy in the door at 8:30 gets his 2 machines listed,
Oh.
and then one other person can go in, but when 5 guys showed up at 8:30, it's called, I'm sorry, you were the first one in the door.
Oh.
But, you know, they go have a cup of coffee and
And
then
then go.
Yeah.
come back, yeah. But it's a nice problem to have.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that that exercise room is being used, the equipment being used.
And pool seems to be being used a lot more too.
Oh, good. Good. Just notes here, some of the volunteers, they're training a floater volunteer to help sub in for open front desk shifts, which is great, because we probably need a floater for that. The lunch program continues to move along, and transportation volunteers are still in demand, but I think, well, and partly because we're trying to provide more van escorts for people. So we're looking for more people, because we're trying to provide a companion for the van escort. What we're looking forward to this season, per Jess, preparing a calendar and room assignments for each month, because people need to know what's going on and see it. Where we once had a morning activity or 2 and afternoon activities, we're now being challenged to find room space and parking for several activities happening at the same time, and using the center to its capacity. It's a good problem to have. And we've added a room booking software program. That sounds like a great idea to help manage spaces and activities. Special events, again, last month hosted the Veterans Luncheon, a Thanksgiving Day luncheon for about 80 people. Entertainment, again, I already mentioned, for Matt York on November 29th. And there will be New Year's Eve activities on December 30th with entertainment. Community collaborations, there's a caroling and cooking with the Girl Scouts, which is nice. The Scituate Senior Knitting Group Fair will be happening. There's a Storybook Cove bookstore, which I'm not sure
Yeah, that was
I
a
know.
pop-up that was.
Yeah, that was
last
a
week.
pop-up.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
it was really, they did a great job.
And an emergent, and I think Erica already mentioned this, there's plans for, well, there was an emergency planning session on December 6th that included some of the town firefighters and Aaron from Outreach. There is today a luncheon and trip to the Boston Pops. I don't have any feedback on that, but that sounds like a nice trip.
My sister went to it, so I'll report back later.
Who did? Did you go?
My sister.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. And wellness offerings, especially reflexology and manicures and pedicures, continue to be booked for the month with waiting lists. Looking to add more days and options where possible. So that's sort of activities and volunteers and programming from Jess.
Can I make one comment?
Absolutely. Leslie?
The numbers you're looking at from Jess's list are unduplicated. So but what it sort of fails to prevent is that somebody walks in the door for a 9:45 class, and then goes to a history lecture at 10 o'clock, and then stays for lunch, and then may do a Zumba class in the afternoon. It's much more than just this many people walked in the door.
Mhm.
It's, a
Duration?
lot of people are here for the day.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily go back to the check-in to check in for each
No, they're
thing.
Oh, no.
not, they're not
Yeah.
asked to.
So we talked about that at the last meeting, about getting the real numbers and making
Yeah.
sure that.
And how to like.
Yeah, once they've checked in.
It's
they
all-
will
I mean,
check
the
in.
idea would be if there was a greeter that, like what Susan Pope was saying, you know, somebody that would direct them to the
Right,
check-in
Susan's
area.
doing it on days where we have Art for the Mind, where you've got 70 people
Right.
suddenly
Like
showing
for
up.
a Bob
Right.
Jackman day or something.
And
That's
they
pretty
said
much
that
under
they're,
control.
they're booked at capacity for the rest of the year, for the month.
Oh, yeah,
I think really.
Art for the Mind?
Yes.
Yes, that's always,
But I mean, I went to try to sign up and they said the rest of the year there's no openings.
Well, that's only a few weeks, right?
well, there's only
No,
one.
no, I thought,
Oh,
I think until
well,
June.
you mean all the way to
No, no,
next
no,
year?
no.
Oh.
It isn't in the system yet for 2023.
Oh, okay.
Ah,
The only one you could have signed up for would be next
This month.
Wednesday.
okay.
That's a good clarification.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's like-
No,
It's
because
really
I,
helpful to have somebody that works at the front desk on the board.
Yeah.
It is.
So speaking of that, is the front desk semi-smooth these days, or where are the bottlenecks?
when it's a timing issue, if you've got Art for the Mind at 11
A crunch.
o'clock and, you know, that crunch.
Yeah.
You get people in line at the front.
Yeah.
And, Susan tried a couple of different things. She tried taking a list of names. You know, I think it's just as easy to let them sign in or tell them to sign in on the way out.
Hmm.
Well, the other thing would be like, almost like what
To
Boston
eliminate
for
the
the harvest dance, in other words, if there was a special event like that where you really do have a ton of people showing up, is to have like that small card table with a sign in front saying, you know, sign in here for Art Matters, or whatever the name of it is, or sign in here for Bob Jackman, and that would at least
Take
get the
that class of people.
yeah, get that flow of people away from the front desk. And the thing is that there are a number of people, not only on the board, but other people that want to volunteer, like for senior tax work-up and things like that. That might be, I don't know, you know, I guess Jess would be the one that would be coordinating it, is to have somebody assigned. I mean, Susan volunteered to do it, but have it be like more of a regular thing, that anytime there's a special event like that. 'Cause
Well, maybe
Bob-
that's what the floater can do,
Yeah,
the floater
Maybe.
volunteer.
yeah,
Bob Jackman's classes are no problem,
okay.
really.
Except that people come wandering up and they come wandering into the grief support room looking for Bob Jackman and stuff like that. That's why it would be, there are, you know, like, people are sent upstairs, they don't know where to go, I mean,
Well, it's the stairs, they don't know which question to go to.
yeah, exactly. Exactly, like, are you making cards in here? No, we're not, we're making tears. Yeah, that kind of thing. So, they, you know, people come up the stairs and this is the first room, so
Yeah.
they automatically,
Okay, then.
Yeah.
exactly. And even if the door's closed, so.
Yeah, I think you should
Yeah,
shut
put
the door
something
and put a sign on it.
on the sign of the door saying closed.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, or bereavement
Yeah.
group,
Or, yeah,
Program
and,
session or
you know,
something.
or no, bereavement group, yeah,
Yeah.
In progress, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Just so that you don't get
Yeah.
interrupted.
But the point is that, I mean, I think that it's probably other, you know, events where it would be helpful to have somebody heard in.
Go that way, go this way, yeah.
But to be honest with you, it's like herding cats.
It
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
Okay.
And sometimes just to get their attention, you have to get pretty loud. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, we do not have Joan Powers here tonight. She excused herself earlier in the week from social other services. We do not have Elaine Shambari here for FOSS, but we do and are honored to see our select
Yes.
board liaison Karen Canfield tonight.
5:30s are tough now,
I
I
bet.
actually have to go
Yeah.
in the city, so I apologize for being late. Just a couple of things I wanted to let you guys know that I have an assignment for you guys to chew on. Can I start with that one or just leave it as a teaser?
No,
I'm sorry, Karen, I missed.
Yeah, so an issue was brought to my attention that this board, I think, needs, not, obviously it's not on the agenda tonight, but might want to consider thinking about, is that at the, now that there are meeting spaces and they're beautiful and they're gonna become more popular when people realize, hey, there's a great space to use. There's not a real, I don't believe there's a room policy, a room use policy in place. And what was brought to my attention is that the library, under the esteemed direction of Kevin Carlin, is, because it's a public building, and this is a public building, the way that the library has it set up is you want to use their space, anyone in town can use one of the meeting rooms. You go online and you register and put in your information, and then it appears on the calendar on the library. And the reason it is because technically, any meeting in those spaces is public meeting. And it came up because, it came to my attention because somebody was refused, somebody refused to accept those terms. They tried to get a room, they said, no, we don't want anybody else but our group to be in here, this is private. It was a group of residents, they wanted to talk about something. And the director, you know, very appropriately said, it's against the policy, if it's on the calendar, probably no one's gonna show up,
Right.
but you have to adhere to this. They said no, and they came here. And they held a meeting here.
Oh.
Right, which, you know, wasn't the end of the world, it was a group of residents, like, they checked all the boxes, but their intent was to have, normally they met in each other's living rooms. They wanted a nicer place, basically, and that's fine. But it would, I think, you know, as demand, you know, build if they will come, we've had our population enjoying the building, and now, you know, from the list of folks saying, oh, there's room there, and they're nice, and let's go meet there. It might be worth having a little conversation, maybe look at the policy at the library, but at the very least, personally, I would think we need to be consistent. And in the event that we have a situation that is not appropriate, let's just say that to have a policy to point to gave the library directors like, oh, no, sorry, these are the terms.
And I actually thought there was a
We
policy.
do have a
for this
policy.
building.
For room, yeah,
For-
it has to
for
be
room
room
use.
organization.
We just haven't, I mean, based on, I thought, select board
Yeah,
feedback
I
and
remember.
or Jim
But maybe
said,
since we don't
keep
have a
it,
calendar.
keep it on the, like, we worked on we have a document.
So,
for a building policy.
right.
It hasn't been
Yeah.
publicized.
Well, but to your point, so, what JD and I meet with Linda like a couple of times a month for strategy and planning. And she had told us, you know, that she has allocated funds to purchase this, subscribe to this new software program that Jess has been asking for, which is on Jess's report.
Oh, is that
And
what
what,
the
the
SCADA
SCITA, and what that does,
or booking software?
it basically will allow everybody to see
What's going on?
Everything.
like all of the rooms, who's using them and when. So, you know, I'm sure that there's a way to,
That sounds like the last piece,
the
right?
last piece.
Yeah.
And we had a number of meetings on, you know, room usage
Yeah,
and,
yeah, and now you remember.
yeah. It
Linda
just,
brought it a couple
yeah,
of times,
so-
so we got it right, yeah.
I mean, yeah, one of the, well, this is maybe a far afield from where you're coming from, but, you know, one of the things we were talking about was, you know, a private function that was
Right,
per fee.
we talked about that, see, that's
So
what I,
that's-
we talked about
We-
that
we-
at
we-
length.
Yeah, right, and we
Yeah.
went through that at length. But in terms of that scenario that you just mentioned, that sounds, I mean, to me, it sort of sounds unique because
Yeah,
the library's gonna publicize it on their program and no one's gonna see it other than the people that are gonna
Go
be going
looking
there
for
anyway.
it.
Right,
right.
so
Yeah.
they were gonna have a private meeting at the library if they stayed at the library, in my
I
opinion.
know, but the only thing that raised the red flag is that they were
They
kind of
were
there and they
Thank
came
you.
here,
But
but I
so-
think you're right. that
Yeah, to
having-
Linda, you know, but in defense, I mean, Linda probably had no idea that that's why they came.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
Yeah, they had a
Yeah.
name and they had
Yeah.
a group, and they did check all but one
That
box.
it has to be a community based, it can't just be like if, you
A book
know,
club.
yeah, like D and I decide to start like a woman's coffee clutch or, I mean, it, you know, just,
Well, you could, but it would have to be a
but it
public-
would have to be a public thing, exactly.
Right, yeah.
So
When the
it should,
Trustco meets, that's because it's a community meeting,
But
it's
it-
not like the public's invited to come.
it's a community
Exactly,
organization, yeah,
right, exactly.
it's a
And
town.
this group wasn't technically, but they really want.
And the Scituate Garden Club had a meeting here,
Mhm.
but it was a public meeting.
Right, I mean, in practice, you're right, nobody's really gonna,
Yeah.
but it's
No,
just a
we
policy.
were encouraging the public to come so that
Don't tell us to-
they joined the garden club.
Okay,
So does
well,
the text say that also? I know we didn't have the calendar to catch that, but does the text
You know,
of
it's
the
funny,
agreement?
we spent all the time on the public,
Fee.
private fee, that, all of that. I'd have to go back and see.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sure it does, because we wouldn't have, because we did go through that, right?
And that's the reason why Linda had to go before the board, because it is a public building and it had to be approved by the.
Yeah, so I know that what's in there is like, if you're an insurance salesman and you wanna have a seminar
Yeah.
and try to get clients, that's not allowed in public building.
Exactly. Same thing with the church,
No, but I
right?
guess I'm just thinking if they signed an agreement, there was no calendar and it said right there, anybody's coming, did everyone ignore that? You know, was that in the text as well, that
Well, they
it was open
they
for
refused to sign the,
there at the library,
Yeah.
but then they came here?
Well, but I think that's the problem right now, and it'll be solved
Yeah.
with the software.
Okay.
When you fill it
Okay.
out and you have
Yeah.
to put it
Okay.
in, there's that box you check, and that's where it will come up.
Yeah.
So, look at that, you solved the problem, Bernie.
Well, yeah, I mean, the other issue is hours.
Yes.
Right, so
Like
the
this
library is
building's
set
just
up
not-
for after
Right,
hours.
after hours until like 8 or 9 o'clock,
Yeah,
right? At
who's
least
gonna-
9 o'clock.
Who's gonna be in
We're
this
sort of
building?
closed at
4.
4.
and, you know, you have to be out here by 9 o'clock, otherwise they
Yeah.
go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have to
So,
pull them shades.
Yeah, so I think these are just growing pains, just to be
Yeah.
aware, it'll be fine. So, I was super excited, I'm so sorry that I missed, a whole conversation with Art. The social worker is invaluable to our community for all the things I'm sure she told you about, but the number one is the work with the police. Because so many of their calls aren't really police calls, they're social worker calls. And it's leaps and bounds to have their expertise.
I mean, I'm listening to Erica and thinking, how can we clone her or
Well,
help, give her some help? It's
I
too
don't
much
think
for-
there's
Too much for one person.
there's too much for one person.
which I honestly would tell you every staff in this town would
Yeah,
say the
Yeah.
same.
so I mean, that's why,
Yeah.
that's why I moved to, can we find a volunteer to
Oh, yeah, yeah.
do some
These are all
task
really
stuff and things like
important.
that, because Erica's running around.
Yeah, and she's, and her services are invaluable.
Yeah.
So it's definitely valued and in one of those areas where how do we, are we meeting the needs and it's a growing need. But one thing that some of you in the room know is next Tuesday night, speaking of just sort of, she was saying, breaking, anytime you get a group of people in this town together, you go, oh, you're working on that, oh, you're working on that, how are we gonna work together on this, and you find resources. So next Tuesday, I sent it to you, right? You're coming?
Yeah.
Okay. The Economic Development Commission of the town of Scituate will be hosting the first annual community forum. Yeah, very exciting. And the focus is obviously on the economic development, and it will be, and every board and committee that does programming, that has forward-facing things, that uses resources, that engages people in the community. And there's an amazing woman that runs Sea Plymouth, she always says residents are visitors too. So, if we get you out of the house to an event, maybe you go shop here, maybe you go pick something up. So it's not just asking people to come into the town, it's to enhance what's here. So we've invited all the boards and commissions that we could think of. I'm sure we forgot people, but I'm getting people calling saying, can we come? We have something like 25 different boards and committees, and not just town committees. There's also the Rotary, KFC, Community Christmas is going to come because they worry about the nonprofit things, but they are that other side of the coin. So Kim Stewart will be attending.
They're feet on the street.
Pardon me?
They are feet on the
They
street.
are, and they're like, if we can do the same thing that they do with economic development pieces, then we've got a really good machine. And one of the things that, and so there'll be, a presentation about this new Scituate Visitor Center, which will be a one-stop shopping for events. So you guys are having an event. On the webpage, you can do it now. On the webpage, it says submit an event. And you can say, oh, we're having this now. The intent is not for, I wouldn't put like the whole community, the Council on Aging calendar up there, although we might want to think about it. Because the
Or a
intent
link to.
are these, yeah, maybe we put a link in or something. But that's what we're gonna brainstorm about on Tuesday, is we have all these exciting things happening. Let's say you decide to do something that you would like to have more of a regional draw to. That would be an appropriate place for that. So we'll have that piece there, and EDC will also be giving a presentation on formalizing how you can request money for programs. That would be in the economic development bucket. They're gonna have a grant program, like right now you can go in and say, hey, I need some money for a parade or whatever, and it's more haphazard. So they're going to have an actual grant application where you go in and you say, here's what I want to do, here's my budget, here's what we think the potential is for the community, and ask for funds from their bucket.
And
The
that
town
would be,
has a grant,
and that would
the
be,
town has a grant.
The Economic Development Commission gets funded from the meals taxes,
yeah, right,
Yeah.
for restaurants,
meals
right.
sales tax, I knew there was another word in there. And those funds are then dispersed at their discretion, following the rules that the finance
Good.
director has given them. But it's gonna be formalized, and so they'll outline that for folks, because we know every single group in town does something that.
Where actually is it gonna be and what's the
It's
time?
at it's at
Oh,
6:30 at the at the Joseph P. Norton Emergency Operating Center at the
Public
Public
Safety
Safety
Building.
Complex.
Okay,
Use the whole thing.
wow, that was a mouthful.
At the Public Safety Complex.
Okay.
That particular room
One-
was named after
Doesn't short.
Yeah.
Mr. Norton. So that's exciting, and then there'll be an overview of the Scituate Visitor Center, but the best part will be, we'll give you a stack of stickies and say, okay, here's the calendar up on the wall. Write down what you know is coming up, that you think that we should be making sure we coordinate. And we all know what'll happen is, JD will go, oh, you're working on that? And those collaborations, I think, will, it'll be a point of purchase. The next thing that it will, and this goes to the point of having volunteers. Excellent points about the tax write-off. There is room in that program
Oh,
for
good,
folks.
okay.
And we approved Tuesday night an increase of the payment on that,
Really?
which
Up
I,
to what?
yeah, you could ask me that number and I don't have it in my head.
It's $100.
No,
Well,
it's
it
not that,
increased
it's
the
like,
hours,
the-
but
it's
how much we're
how much you
paying.
get paid, what the equivalent is right now
Is
is
it the new state
$12.50,
minimum?
so
I
It's
think
50?
it might be
15.
15
Oh, wow.
up to,
100 hours.
yeah, I'd have to look at the
Nice.
backup and I don't have that number in my head because I didn't bring my notebook and I don't remember everything.
And then are there any other requirements?
I'm sure, Linda can give you all of, yeah, yes, there are. You have to qualify for it and then
That's
you,
what I figured.
and there's a parameter and stuff. But one of the things that isn't ready yet, that is in the works for the Scituate Visitor Center is the one thing that you hear from everyone who has a great idea or has a great program is, I need more hands. And we know that this community shows up. You look at Strip Shake Day, Peggotty Beach, we planted those little grass,
The sand, yeah,
The sand-
the
seed
dune
grass.
grass.
Dune grass.
Dune grass.
85 people showed up. It was a gorgeous day, and moms went, all right, kids, get in the van, we're gonna go out to town. So the goal, and it's a lot more complicated than I thought it was, because it's software, you have to actually, is to eventually have a tab that says volunteer opportunities. So, Susie comes to town with her kids, and grandma says, what are we gonna do? And we go, how about we go help stuff, bags, or whatever it is. And it'll link to whoever needs the hands kind of thing. So I'm very excited about that because I know there are people that wanna help, and I know that the groups that there's always the same 20% do all the work.
Right.
So that's in the works, we have to raise some money to actually build that into the software, but that's coming
It
in.
gives the volunteers a pipeline to be able to say, yes, I wanna help. That's the
Exactly.
thing.
Right,
But
right.
the thing is, if you
Right.
actually have like 2 openings to work with the Economic Development Council, I know that Linda has accepted applications for people that wanna do the senior tax workout program but doesn't have a place.
Right, if we can have a more robust place
Yeah.
to look for opportunities
Yeah.
like that. And the same with the high school students' community service hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that, it's a coming attraction that, it fits under economic development and tourism because the more you work together, the more attractive the community is. And that helps with just keeping everything, yeah. And we'll focus on the shoulder seasons because we do just fine in
I
the
just
summer.
wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
I'm not, on the volunteer tax work-off program, and you mentioned just now that you have to qualify for that, right?
Mhm.
I think.
Well, you have to fill out an application, I do it,
Do you
so,
fill it out here at the senior center?
yeah, Linda has a
Linda
packet.
has it all.
Okay, so once that's okay, let's say that button were to be instituted, you could,
No, it,
No,
No,
it's separate.
understood.
don't have anything to do with
has
it?
to be
no,
part
this
of it.
is something totally,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
what
Okay.
Karen was talking about, it's totally separate, like a stay-at-home mom that's looking
Oh,
for something to do with her
okay.
kids.
Yeah.
The
So
senior
that's a
tax
job.
worker- Yeah.
And then the
Ah,
button will be.
You receive a financial benefit to be participating
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the
Oh,
senior
yeah,
tax
yeah.
workout.
The other's strictly
Right,
volunteer,
okay.
coordinated
Yeah, the other
volunteer.
is just time.
Okay.
So that's exciting, let's see, because I don't remember anything. And volunteer opportunities, all right, that was my list.
Karen's great.
I'm gonna just, I don't have the answer to this, but I'm gonna come back to where Erica sort of touched on it too. And this falls into it. The communication to get the word out to the community is the issue, right?
That's what I wrote down right there.
Right.
See that?
And, I mean,
Public relations.
I just don't think there's enough people that, for example, go to the town website every day to say,
Right.
what's going on?
Nobody does.
Well, that's
And
one of
so,
the things. about
there's,
the-
I mean, there's a dedicated group of people that do that, but not nearly. And so how do we get, Linda, I mean, to me, Linda, every 2 weeks, if she's kicking on a constant contact,
Yep.
that can cover some things, and that goes to X number of people. But how do we publicize other things
Well, it
to.
could be in the it could be in the Coastal Mariner, it
Could
could be
be.
a corner.
But Coastal Mariner is
I
not,
think you hit it right on the head before, was the problem, well, here's what the problem is, well, and I've been spending a lot of time on this. You know, we thought, do we hire a communications person, do we hire a PR firm? The problem with communicating with the public, I'll put that in quotes, now, is we used to have very finite ways to get information to people. Now, everybody gets their information in a million different ways.
Exactly.
And honestly, let's say the town meeting is a good example. We want everybody to know. So we put it on the website, we put it in the video, we put it out, everywhere we can think of. We put flyers in all of the public buildings, we do all that. Every year, somebody says, you never told me.
right.
So we put social media, so,
If we could
That's-
capture email addresses, that would be a big help.
but it's, as you said, not everybody looks at that.
But we have all the email addresses
Yeah,
for the senior center folks.
Mhm.
That's a requirement that they fill out the form.
Right,
Nobody ever uses that.
yeah.
But I would suggest that the most effective means for reaching a senior population with marketing is direct mail. I'm sorry. If you have the
That's
money
exactly
to
what I
be
was
able to do it, then direct mail through a mailing house or whatever you have to do is the best way. You could have a standard postcard. It would always be the same front, you know, just something for the senior center, and then whatever's happening on the back. That's
Well,
all
it's,
the
cost.
stuff I throw
as
away.
like, let's say the recreation department, they have that cardboard,
one
you know,
thing.
it's a one piece, and it goes in your mailbox.
Yeah.
I, get it, make a copy, stick it up on my wall or whatever. But it would be, to your point, that same kind of thing, and it
People,
could.
yeah, seniors like to go to their mailbox, open it, and take something out.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
And, if there were a scene of Scituate or something beautiful on it, maybe as the student picture on the
As
front,
the brand.
they'd be
messaging.
more likely.
That reminds me of the one thing I did forget to mention, is that at Town Hall right now, we are in the throes of the fiscal '24, because we're on a fiscal year, it starts in July 1st, budget review. So, and that goes right to that. So, every department, Linda already came in and presented her budget for the coming year. And every department does that, and the advisory looks at it, capital planning looks at it, and then with a whole run-up, so in April town meeting, the town can vote to whether approve that budget that will begin in July. And these are the things that we, every department, it's actually, there's nothing to do one day. The budget book is really interesting about how the town works, because the department chairs do a great job. Say, here's what I accomplished this year, here are my challenges for next year, here's what I'd really like to do if I could have another person or have more money or whatever. And then we have to figure out, at the end of the day, okay,
What can we do?
what can we do, what can we afford? But, so that's one of those things, is a comprehensive communications plan is something we are definitely spending time with, because you can't, you're right. Seniors, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
We're not gonna reach the young families by postcards,
No.
they never go to the mailbox.
Right.
We go twice a week if
Their
they're.
Instagram,
Right, so
Right.
it's social
Right,
media
they're
for
all
them,
social
or it's,
media.
yeah.
Or the electronic backpack at the school and make it
That's
a
fun.
once a month.
Well, they have Peach
Addition.
Jar, the parents all
Yeah.
have Peach Jar.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of analysis that, as a town, one solution isn't gonna work. You have to
No.
look at your population you're
Right.
trying to reach.
Hit
It
'em
has to be a
different ways.
niche market.
And unfortunately, all of that costs money.
I know, well, that's.
You know,
that's the
to do it
budget,
right.
Yeah.
So these are big things, and I think it's sort of, it's obviously not our community, it's our culture. It has changed so radically, and we're just gonna have to figure out how to do it. That's the fun stuff, right?
yeah.
They
Sounds
got,
like there's a lot
Brianna's
of
gonna
great
figure it all out.
Oh, yeah.
Media source,
Community
absolutely.
Yeah, but that's,
Absolutely.
that might be something that Linda says, I need to build into my budget mailings. We have the newsletter, and that's printing costs.
Yeah.
Maybe, that has to be built in. So that's something maybe you guys need to
When she
think
does
about.
print the newsletter, though, she could do an insert. If it's something that's gonna correspond with the timing of the newsletter.
Does that get mailed?
And also the
Yeah.
newsletters,
It does.
once every 2 months now.
And
it's one.
it gets delivered to
That's true, it's
the
only
housing.
every couple of months.
Right, it gets, and it's at town hall, and
Yeah.
it's placed in the library and things like that.
So we could budget for more frequency maybe.
Well, that's why I think you're exactly right, is it, that's great for seeing what's coming and whatever, but if you really want to alert people to
Mhm.
opportunities, you have to
Yeah,
tell them
so,
what it was.
because it would be a community calendar versus the calendar for the senior center.
Right,
Yeah,
So it would almost have to be an insert. But I'm thinking, you know, maybe it could be something, a town-based thing where, just like the recreation department does it, have the, you know, Scituate Visitor Center have a community calendar that ends up in everyone's mailbox or something. I don't know.
yeah, that might be another phase, yeah, it's an interesting, because that's where we have to brainstorm about this stuff. So the events calendar that would be on the website, that is on the website, is really more about driving traffic into our community,
Right,
or alerting folks in the community to what's going on.
right.
Um,
But people have to go to that website.
People have to go to that website. But the goal is, instead of saying, oh, let me go on the website for the council on aging, let me go on the website for this, is that it goes
One
to
stop.
one stop.
yeah.
But it wouldn't be an appropriate place for all the rec offerings
Right.
or
No.
your programming,
Right.
No.
because those are.
Those are
I
separate.
don't agree that having the senior center in the town website is, it just confuses them.
Well, so, just so you know, 2 years ago, well, pre-COVID, I volunteered to help Linda start up a new website which was offered by MCOA, because I was running the 50+ program and I got my own website for that and created the whole thing from scratch with, you know, one of the staff members from MCOA. So I told Linda about it, because they offered it up to all the COAs in the state. And so I came and worked with Jill. This was in the old building with limited resources, but it's a full-time thing to get, so it's partially done. But then I ended up, and then COVID came, right? And then after COVID, I elected to use my time to start up the grief support group rather than do the MARCOM. But we've been talking for 2 years now about the need for a MARCOM person for the senior center. And that would be one of the things that they would do, is to finish this dedicated website, which it gets it off of the town.
Because every time I say to somebody,
It
it's
is
on the
very
town website,
It's
I
very,
get this grimace.
yeah, no, it is very
And you know
confusing
you've
and it's not
lost
user
I don't wanna go
friendly.
there, or I go there and it's
Um,
too
yeah.
confusing,
It's too
or,
confusing.
right.
It is.
Oh, and I know where to look for stuff, and I just want to have some.
Right.
Yeah,
It's good.
no, I know, it's very, and then you
There's
factor
so
in,
much
and then
information.
you
Right.
factor in the age demographic that we're dealing with, and then it becomes an impossibility.
Well, yeah, that is a definitely an ongoing conversation,
Yeah.
but we'll see what happens after Tuesday for, the other side of things, but.
Karen, where's the visitor center gonna be?
Say that again?
Where did you say the
It's
visitor
gonna be
center?
at
The public safety complex.
Oh,
No,
that's
no.
right.
That's where the-
No, that's
Where's
where
the
meeting
visitor
is?
Oh,
center?
the visitor center is not a physical place.
It's a
No.
virtual.
It's, right now it's virtual, sorry. With the, you know, so Sue DePisa is one of the main organizers, Fran McMillan is the president right now, if you know those guys. And we're past the baby stage, we're now in the toddler stage.
Right?
And physical is probably early adulthood.
Gotta be, oh.
Early adulthood, I mean, you need to build the infrastructure's not finished yet. And you need to get buy-in and you need to do all those things. And then once that and you need to get, and most importantly, you have to be able to write grants. And
Yeah.
starting in February, they will be 2 years 501c and they can write for grants.
Great.
So,
And no resurrection of the old visitor center in North Situate, the physical building? The old
that'll be
road?
when we're young adults.
Okay.
But there's a lot of different
I mean,
places.
we tried it and it went for a year and a half or 2 years and then we
But the
slowed
problem
it
was
back.
volunteers.
Yeah.
You didn't have the bodies.
Yeah.
So we're trying, that's exactly why this group, I'm just jumping in to help, you know, organize the pieces here, but that's exactly why they step back from trying to look for a physical location, is they wanna walk before they run.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds great.
So there you go.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you for your service to
Pleasure.
our town and community.
It's fun, and with that, I have to be
Talk to
somewhere
Linda
in
about it,
other.
I'll talk to you about it.
When
When do they start taking charges of the senior center
As opposed to cash.
as opposed to cash? Because I'm able to understand that it's the town that's watering it.
Is it in town?
Well, Karen, as you walk out,
May I be excused?
as you walk
Yes.
out,
Yes.
Leslie,
Oh, we can't
we
take
wanna be
credit
able,
cards
we
at the
wanna be
senior
able to
center.
charge for things.
Which
as
is
opposed
like,
to taking cash.
You know, what century are we in?
Yeah. The big
All
guys.
cash or checks?
Why is that?
Well, the feedback I get is, well, the town doesn't allow it. Or if you pay through the town, you have to pay a percentage.
There is a 3% charge usually.
For using a credit
Well,
card, right?
For senior
Yeah.
center? For senior?
And
you know what the
the
churches
credit
do?
card, there's a charge for that.
But other towns
Do it.
around do it with no charge.
Yeah.
So much easier, yeah.
And Nancy knows those things.
Credit card
I would like,
people
and I
pay.
mean, do you know how much time Jill spends counting money, balancing checks,
Yeah.
and going through the software? Thank you.
Tomorrow, no, that's a really good one. That's exactly what I'm supposed to do.
That's
Well, I'm
neat.
sorry to like do the drive
I
by,
think
but
that's easy.
No, it's great to see you.
good to see you guys. Have a great holiday,
Yeah,
everyone.
Jill,
We gotta figure out communication, which
Yeah.
is then.
Hit her
get on that.
Hit her, wait, hit her on the way out.
I'm not gonna pay.
There, that's dinner.
Oh, absolutely. Dark time.
Yeah, and I also.
I'm
Okay.
pissed at it. No, I don't.
All right, well, I thought it would stay.
Does anyone else have any other, Karen, thank you again.
Thank you, thank you.
Any other comments, issues, business? I don't have any. I didn't get any reports from, like I said, FOSS or Social Elder Services. So,
Motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Do I hear a
I
motion?
second it.